Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so yesterday Marvel Construct Champions official channel dropped Super-Skrull deep dive. Obviously huge thanks to DarksoulDLX for creating those, because they are a fantastic source of information, especially when they are released early, before we get all the CCP videos, before we have had a chance to play with the character ourselves. And then they become a lot more interesting, because we can, well, first of all, see what Dave has in store for us, and second of all, we can also try and deduce some of the things that maybe are not being said and draw our own conclusions or, well, predictions. It's always nice to get more information. So, I'm gonna go through some of the things that I noticed for myself, and how it has affected my opinion about Super-Skrull, and things that I will definitely be maybe more wary of, or maybe more excited for. Before we get any further, and I see many people like to draw these lines like people jump to conclusions. No, the whole point of these videos is exactly the opposite. It's not to jump to conclusions, but to do my best to provide you guys with an insight of how my thought process personally works, what piece of information kind of like leads me thinking which way, and what I look out for in champion. It's still very early days, and before I have had a chance to actually play with the champion, I have never casted like my final verdict of it. Because one thing is to see the champion, or to see some videos about it, and then see what other people say about it. And then it's completely different when you actually get to use the champion. The champion might be the greatest in the world, but you might not like something about him. The champion might be awful, but you might enjoy him. A good example for me personally has been Immortal Hulk. I still don't think he's a great champion, but there's something about him that I absolutely love. And yeah, so it's important to keep in mind that this is not jumping to conclusions, but this is just trying to gain a bit more insight in how I think this guy will operate, and what his role in this wonderful, wonderful game that we all love to play will be. So I have taken a bunch of screenshots from that video, all for several different purposes, but I think the best place to start is going to be around here. Here we can see a rank 3 6-star Super-Skrull, 25 hits in the fight, about to land his level 3. And why is that important? Is because we can gauge his base damage output here. Basically, only things that has happened in this fight thus far is that you have built up to level 3 and you're about to launch it. So one of the things that I was hoping for Super-Skrull was that, thanks to all of his Fury buffs, he will actually be able to put up quite a big damage without actually needing to throw any special attacks. And that would be a great change for a cosmic character, because cosmic characters typically do heavily rely on special attacks. Cosmic characters have access to a lot of buffs, and often armor break. That's kind of like the three major things that cosmic characters do, and there aren't many cosmic characters at all who can access fantastic damage without really needing to rely on their special attacks. And I hoped Skrull could be it. But to compare his damage output, I actually took in a rank 3 6-star of my own with class advantage in basically also Realm of Legends fight, without using any suicide masteries or anything, just to compare the health bars. So you can see that here we have 20k Super-Skrull, so that is a rank 3 6-star going up against Vision. So that's class advantage, rank 3 against Realm of Legends, and Vision is at 92%. Here I went in with Namor, who is also rank 3 6-star, no boost, no nothing. We can see that PIs are relatively similar. I have class advantage. I did 25 hits, and I actually just did very, very basic regular combos. That means I didn't do like mediums or heavies to artificially inflate the damage. But we can see already that Namor got 3% more of that health, and considering the fact that 25 hits was 8% damage dealt, 8% damage dealt here in the Vision fight, because he's still at 92, and we can see that Winter Soldier here is at 89% and still bleeding, by the way, might I add, means that his damage on basic hits is going to be lower than Namor's, and that might actually be a problem because he gains all of those Furies, or has a chance to gain Fury buffs, and Namor's base damage is relatively garbage. It's not completely garbage, but he's definitely not considered a hard hitter. But if one deals 8% and other one deals 11%, that means that Super-Skrull might possibly be underwhelming on his base hit damage. Now, that does not by any means imply that he might have awful damage overall, because he has his special attacks and he has the incinerates to access to, which is something we're going to look on further in. But that does give us a good gauge on his like basic attack damage, and unfortunately that department definitely does not look too strong if he can get easily outdone for about 33% pretty much by Namor. And yeah, so that is not ideal, at least by the looks of it. Obviously there is the unknown aspect of the mastery setup, but as I said, I didn't have offensive setup at all. No glass cannon, no suicide masteries, things like that. Right, and here is kind of further example to that. So we have 20k Super-Skrull critting on his medium attack with 5 Fury buffs active, which is basically what you're gonna have for a large duration of the fight. And aptitude. Keep in mind that aptitude increased the potency of those Fury buffs for further 60%. And you can see he crits for 3.4k. Now that is quite bad damage. Again, it's not end of the world, because there are plenty of champions who are more than capable of dishing out some insane numbers overall and don't have the strongest basic hits. A good example would be Human Torch. Human Torch never hits or crits for like crazy amounts of damage, but he focuses on damage over time. Unfortunately, I just don't think this is quite the numbers I'd like to see from a champion who's so buff heavy. But we're gonna see and move on. Another thing that I did want to point out, and that we're gonna see in a second here, not quite here yet. I think this is as good as picture as any to illustrate it. There is a one side niche piece that not many people think too much about. And that is the fact that he not only has access to an absolute ton of buffs, it's also the fact that all of those are unique buffs. And more we can see nodes that empathize the importance of that. As a couple of quick examples would be, in incursions we have hacks that grant you attack for each unique buff you have, and Super-Skrull is going to be able to benefit from that greatly. In addition to that, rich get richer node is a very common and modern meta, and therefore he's pretty much always going to be the champion who has more buffs than the opponent does. I think he pretty much has access to the largest amount of different buffs in his base kit abilities in the game. That means you would technically be able to trump out pretty much any champion on rich get richer node, which is quite interesting. And then last thing that it also means, and it is not irrelevant, is the fact that he will be fantastic Warlock counter just because of that. Because infection duration is reduced by 6 seconds, I think. So for each unique buff that you have. And if you have 4 buffs, then basically as soon as infection is applied, it expires. If you have 3 buffs, then it's only lasting 2 seconds. So I think kind of like in his default kit, he's going to be an absolutely amazing Warlock counter. Right. And here we can see that without aptitude buff, 10 Furies active, which is by far the maximum amount of Furies you can gain. The incinerates are ticking for 1900 here, plus you're going to be able to incinerate per hit. So that is where vast majority of his damage is going to come, because we can see that even the hits themselves only hit for like 4.7k here, again 4.7k on this one as well. And yeah, the actual damage from these crits, even when you crit at 10 Furies and aptitude, it's 11k. And that's relatively pathetic, let's face it. Yeah, that is not a great damage output. And that just means that even though you're going to be playing a champion who has 10 Fury buffs, you will see nowhere close the numbers that you can see from champions like Captain Mal movie version. Even Silver Surfer with double Furies hits significantly harder than that. But his damage is actually going to largely come from incinerates and damage over time, which will definitely mean that any matchup where you can't access the debuffs or against Incinerate immunity, even though you're gonna be using a Cosmic Champion with 10 Fury buffs, you're gonna be hitting like a noodle. That, again, is not the end of the world, because there are a lot of champions who emphasize the damage in damage over time effects, but it's just very, very important to understand that when you go for a champion who theoretically on paper looks like could put up some crazy, insane yellow numbers, now I think we pretty much know for a fact that he will not. If there are and will be crazy insane numbers, then those are going to come from those incinerates that can tick for like 3k or something like that, or even higher, and you can stack a bunch of them. And that is kind of like the biggest takeaway I have taken from this deep dive. So I do think he's going to be quite tricky to play, a bit of learning curve. I think he's going to be a good defender. I think he definitely could be potentially very, very annoying on defense, because he will quite easily be able to go unblockable if he gets the throw like a level 2. And yeah, there will be things to worry about for sure. And obviously there will be counters to him, but I think with the way his special animations are, he probably will cease being placed on defense. But offensively, I obviously haven't given all my hope up yet. I'm actually trying my hardest to like him, and I will definitely try and find as many uses as I can for him. But I have definitely concluded that the big yellow numbers that we have come to hope or expect from Cosmic Champions and tons of Fury buffs are more than likely not going to be present here. And if this champion will have great damage output, then it will come pretty much exclusively from incinerates. And that is going to be the rotation. You will basically have to do everything you can to get to those level 2 and inflict a bunch of incinerates. And yeah, I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. And again, remember the thing that I said at the start, this by no means is some sort of final conclusion. This is just work in progress, me trying to deduce where the champion will be viable and what for he will be viable. And ultimately, I hope this video has perhaps given you some bit better insight on his ability kit. And obviously, to get more information, we're just going to have to wait till the champion actually gets released, until we get the CCP videos and all of that other good stuff. But that is it for now. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, hit that sub button, hit that like button, hit that what button is left? Share button. Yes, hit the share button. Share to your alliance mates and friends. We're actually almost at 33,000 subscribers. Please help me with that. But I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the